If my previous car ownership experience is any indication, I am a fan of hot hatchbacks, particularly of the Volkswagen flavor. I've owned a Mark V GTI, a Mark VI GTI, and a Mark VI Golf R. But I'm not brand loyal. Exhibit A is when I bought a Fiesta ST and drove that for a while and absolutely loved it. So it's fair to say that I just like the best hot hatch available. Well, this segment has changed a lot recently, and one of the main new contenders is the Veloster N. So today we're gonna drive Angeles Crest Highway and find out if it's any good. Let's be honest, the first generation Veloster Turbo wasn't all that good. The engine was lazy, the steering was horribly vague, and the handling was plain sloppy. This, however, is an all-new Veloster, and on paper it appears to be made by people who actually give a damn. 275 horsepower from a turbo 2-liter, adaptive suspension, a limited slip differential, and a suspension tuned by people who used to work for BMW's M division. But those are magazine figures. Let's drive this thing and see what it's all about. When you talk about the Veloster N, I have to start off with this story because I think it sums up the Veloster N in so many ways. When I was booking this car, I was talking with Derek Joyce, who is basically the press guy responsible for kind of their more performance models, such as the Veloster N. And I was asking him some questions of stuff that I haven't seen in any press releases or haven't seen in any articles or anything like that. So I asked him, what is the Nürburgring time of this car? And while I don't put a ton of weight into Nürburgring times, I was mostly just curious. And I know some people do care about that kind of stuff, so that's why I asked. And his response was, we don't have an official time because it's against our ethos of the car. The car is about fun. The car is not about lap times. So it's very apparent, and it's like that really sums up the Veloster N in so many ways, is that it is just such a fun car to drive. Now, does that mean it's slow? Absolutely not. This is, I'm certain, around any racetrack faster than a GTI performance pack. I'm certain, any racetrack. I'm certain in quarter mile as well. Now, this car itself has a performance package, and it is a must-buy in my opinion. There is zero reason that you would not buy the performance package if you're buying a Veloster N. $2,000 gets you a super trick fancy front diff, which is amazing. We'll get more into that. You get upgraded 19s with like these P0 tires, which are super sticky. You get bigger brakes, and you get a valved exhaust. I mean, that's a lot of parts for your dollar. The big thing there, and honestly, the $2,000 alone, I would spend on just the diff. This diff is wonderful. What's incredible about the car is, let's set it up in this corner. I can like go into a corner pretty hot and feel like I want to make a little more correction. And a lot of front wheel drive cars will just understeer a little bit, kind of shed some speed. Not this car. This car just turns in more. I mean, this diff is trick. It is awesome. And once again, worth the price of admission alone for that $2,000 of the performance package. While we're on the topic of chassis, let's talk about the suspension. electronically controlled damping that I can adjust with a button here. And while that's nice to have, I like this in its normal mode. There's like normal, sport, and sport plus. Sport and sport plus on most roads are too stiff. Like maybe on a racetrack they make sense, but for the street, normal is perfect. And okay, while I do have all this adjustability that I probably wouldn't use in this car, normal is friggin' awesome in this car. It handles bumps really well. It's not too stiff by any means. It's incredibly well balanced. And what I really like about the car is you can get it to rotate. You know, this is like a new trend with front wheel drive cars that we haven't really seen before. But especially on trail braking, you can get this car to rotate in corners really, really nicely. This car likes to trail brake. As you dive in, you could feel the back come around just a little bit, not enough to unsettle it. And, you know, as we talk about kind of trail braking, the brakes themselves are really, really good. Very firm pedal, easy to modulate. I mean, dude, I've been hammering them on these canyon roads, and I haven't smelled, well, I have smelled a little bit, but they haven't faded, okay? Now, they're not like super special performance brakes. They're just like bigger than stock. I don't think they're Brembos or anything. Oh, let me give you guys the burble tune here. Ready for it? It sounds like a gunshot. I love that. Absolutely love that. That valved exhaust. I mean, I am a child, but the burble tune is pretty cool. Does it get old? I don't know. After a week, it hasn't. But so we talked about the brakes. We talked about the chassis. What's nice, and I've kind of alluded to it here, is that you have these different settings you could set the car up in. So you can individually adjust the throttle response like you can in most cars. You could adjust the steering, you could adjust the suspension, you can adjust the valved exhaust, you could adjust how much traction control you want and stuff like that. And it's very, with this little button here, I hit this button and I can go into my own custom N mode. Does that sound familiar? As a E92 M3 owner, yes, it does sound very familiar, because they poached the old manager of the M division of BMW. So if you're gonna get someone to run your performance division, like, why not poach the best, right? So they poached him, and it feels very BMW M in that mindset, like, because of the customizability, just the way it goes about things, you can tell like it was from a very similar individual, or in this case, the same individual. Let's do Upper Big Tacunga. As we get by these bikers. This is a fun road. Now we got the pops. So, on topic of pops and bangs and the engine, 2-liter with the performance package, you get 275 horsepower as opposed to 250 in the standard car. And what I really like about this engine is the fact that it builds and builds and builds. There is a little bit of turbo lag down low. You don't get hit with like a wall of torque like you do on some cars like the GTI. You get a ton of low end torque, and then it kind of tapers towards the upper RPM range. What's nice about this car is it just builds and builds and builds. So whatever turbo they have fitted to this thing, man, people fly on this road, by the way. Whatever turbo they have fitted is clearly like bigger than most, because it takes some time to build. There is a little lag, but it makes for a fantastic driving experience because you just keep going. You just keep building. As you get higher in the RPM range, it doesn't fall off. The engine is strong, man. Like every bit of 275 horsepower that they claim. really like the engine. The gearbox is pretty good. It's not the best, but it kind of feels very similar to a GTI transmission in the sense of sometimes it doesn't like to be rushed, but overall it's still pretty good. Let's chase bikes. Man, these guys are hauling balls. What a beautiful road. If I'm nitpicking, there are a couple things that I don't love, but these are super nitpicks, guys. Like, this car overall is great. I don't like the blue seat belts. The car is red. Like, the car is red with black accents, and you give me light blue seat belts. You also give me light blue buttons on the steering wheel for their N mode, not to be confused with your M mode. But, like, why? I don't know. There's no other blue on this car, so why is it blue? Once again, minor nitpick. Another minor nitpick, which this is one you could easily change. The shift knob is not smooth. I'm okay with, like, it doesn't have to be smooth to the point of being slick. Like, it can be textured, but, like, there's these weird little indentations in it, and it just kind of feels weird in your hand. Once again, this is very minor nitpicks. You can change a shift knob pretty easily, but, you know, I just don't, I guess it's meant to look cool, but it doesn't really do anything for me. Just give me, like, a standard shift knob that's in every other car. But we've caught up to some bikes. Let's pull over and summarize who this car is for, who this car is not for. Should you buy one, should you not? Okay, so let's summarize the Veloster N. And after spending a bunch of time in the car, I feel like I can talk to who should buy this car and who should not. So the people that should buy this car are first and foremost someone who doesn't require 4 doors. That should be fairly obvious, but you'll notice on this side it's like a coupe thing, only 1 door. On the other side there's 2 doors. There's this weird 3rd door thing that opens like a regular sedan door. It's kind of strange, and that's nice, but the problem is there's not a lot of headroom in the back. The way they shaped this car, I'm 6'1", I can't sit in the back without being like hunched over and my head hitting the ceiling. So if you require a more utilitarian vehicle, you're gonna wanna look at a GTI because they only come in 4 doors. There's just more space in the back. The interiors are a little bit nicer. However, if you want something more fun and you don't require the extra space, this is the better car. Like, I am shocked. I enjoy driving this car more than any of the newer GTIs. That diff is phenomenal, so make sure you get the performance package. And for 30 grand, it's pretty comparably priced. Now, you have other cars in this category, sort of like the Civic Type R. But the Civic Type R is $7,000 more expensive than this. That's like 25% more expensive, a little more than 25% more expensive. And the Civic Type R is a very, very good car. It is a little bit faster, so if you need the ultimate in speed, get the Civic Type R, but you're gonna pay more. And also, like, guys, I'm 32 years old. I can't drive a Civic Type R. The styling is too ridiculous. This thing is much better styled, in my opinion. It's not the best looking car by any means, but it's a little more understated than the Civic Type R, and I personally like it. Like, I could drive this car. I'm not a huge fan of red, although red looks good on it. I would probably get something like white, but that's kind of like where I'm falling with this car. Now, there's also the Fiesta ST, which is a lot less expensive, but this feels more premium in my opinion. The ride is significantly better in this than the Fiesta ST, and this is faster than this Fiesta ST too. So it just really depends where you want to fall in the spectrum. And I think if those requirements where you don't need the extra space but you want a fun car, to have this as your only car, would be great. Would be a great little hot hatch. It's got enough space to have as like a realistic daily driver and also have some fun. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll answer any questions that you have about the car, maybe stuff that I missed. Huge thank you to Hyundai for letting me borrow this for a week. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys watching as always. If you want to follow me in between episodes, Eat Sleep Drive TV on Instagram. We'll see you on the next one, guys. If my past ownership, no. A Mark 6 GTI and a Mark 6 Golf R. But I'm not brand loyal. Yeah.